Hello, Sharon here from the Trainers Training Company with take 2 of my weekly top tips. Had a little bit of a difficulty at the first attempt, something to do with StreamYard not working. But anyway, undeterred, I thought it'd be easier to do it a bit later on when it had sorted itself out. So here I am at 3 o'clock and not 12:30 as normal. So today I wanted to talk about how to overcome setbacks in business. Because let's face it, setbacks are just part of business life. And no matter who you are, what kind of business you've got, how big your business is, how small your business is, how long you've been in business, etc., it's pretty likely that at some point you will experience some kind of setback. And I have certainly had my own fair share of setbacks over the years. The first big setback that I had was many, many years ago at the end of my first year in business, when I decided, I realised that it wasn't a great thing to be doing tons and tons of associate work anymore, because basically it was, I was rushing around like a busy fool and not making very much money. So I took the decision to get some clients of my own, and that was really hard. And initially I went from a full diary to a nothing diary, and that certainly was a massive setback. Another setback that I had early on in my business was I had just I was really pleased with myself, because I did have a corporate client, and they gave me tons of work, and it was a big management development program, went on for a whole year, 12-month program, and there was about, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 days a month. So, really, really good piece of work to have, particularly when it was the early days of my business. But just literally a few weeks before the program was about to start, they rang me up and said, there's been a bit of a change in the organisation, move the goalposts, and this training now is no longer a priority, which was bad enough. But what was even worse, I didn't have at that stage any terms and conditions in place, any cancellation in fees in my contract, and in fact I didn't really have a contract, so I just had to kind of let it go. And that was like a massive learning curve for me, something that I certainly addressed after that massive setback. Moving on to the business that I have now, the Trainers Training Company. About 2 years ago, I decided that I would, for various reasons, move my community within my Trainers Swap membership, which had always been a Facebook group, and a really, really active Facebook group at that. I decided that, for lots of reasons to do with Facebook and the algorithms and all the rest of it, that I would move to a different platform called Mighty Networks, which, and I did tons of research into this, and I truly, truly believed, and still do, that it was a really, really much better platform for my community to be on. So, I did everything right. I kind of, worked through this process, informed all my members, gave them plenty of notice to move across, or, textbooks, way to kind of handle change. But it didn't work. And it didn't work because my members were, so used to being on Facebook. And it didn't matter that on Mighty Networks, it was, we had a little app, and it was so easy for them to go into that. But there was something about making the leap from another platform and going somewhere else that people found really difficult. And that was a massive setback, because I'd invested so much time and energy and money into this process. And I had to admit defeat and say, hey, everybody, we're going back to Facebook. You can see somebody's joined us here. Come and say hello. I'd love to know who's watching, and, come and share your experiences of setbacks in your business as well. I'd love to hear about them. Probably the biggest setback that I had in my business was obviously going right back to March 2020, when COVID hit. And literally, I woke up on the 13th of March, on Friday the 13th of March, to tons and tons of people cancelling their memberships. Not so much of Trainer Talk, I hardly got any of those, but people who were subscribing to the Associate Alert Service, even though it wasn't a big financial outlay, it was £10 a month. Lots of people just decided that, because they were in a panic and they just wanted to cut their costs, that they just got rid of it. And I lost, hundreds of subscribers literally within the space of 2 weeks. So again, something that wasn't easy to cope with, and it was a massive setback during the course of that year as well. I had to move all my Trainer Talk live events to virtual events, which was something I hadn't had to deal with before. How on earth do you turn an event that is very much a full-on live event where people come to see other people and communicate with each other, and they come for the buzz of the environment. How on earth do you turn that into a virtual event? But that was something that I had to do, and again was a little bit tricky and was a massive setback to begin with. So those are just ones that I can think off the top of my head. But I have certainly had my fair share of setbacks over the years, and I'm sure you have too. And I can see that some people are watching, and please do come on and share your stories. I'd love to hear from you, or just to come and say hello. I always like to know who's watching. Okay, so how do you overcome setbacks in your business? There are plenty of resilience experts out there that you can learn from and you can follow. And for me personally, over the last 2 or 3 years, I've invested massively in the work of Michael Neal and Robert Holden, who are two, I guess, sort of, the resilience coaches, spiritual experts. I'm not quite sure what you call them, but they are very, very good at helping business owners and individuals work through some of these issues around resilience, picking yourself up, coping with things that that life throws at you. And one of the courses that I did early on in COVID was something called, with Robert and Michael, was the Spiritual Resilience Mastermind, which was a massive comfort. I did it for 12 months. It was a 12-month program, and I'd never, ever considered myself a spiritual person in any way. In fact, I remember the first session that we were on, and the question that I was asked, that they posed to us as a group, was, what does spiritual resilience mean to you? And I didn't know, and I felt really, really stupid, because I felt like everybody else knew what that was, and I didn't. I had no idea. So, but it's certainly, I learned a huge amount about resilience and about spiritual resilience too, and it's certainly something that has helped me over the last couple of years. Speaking personally then, for other things that have helped me, number one, I think, accept, when you have a setback, accept that this is part of business life. It is what it is. I don't care who you are, how successful your business is, you are going to have setbacks. It's just a fact of business life. Second thing that I would say is around personal attitude to setbacks and change. There's the saying that I'm fond of saying in my business, is that everything is an experiment in your business, and as you go along, some things are going to work and some things are not going to work, but there are no failures, there are only experiments. And personally speaking, that is something that has really helped me, and that has given me the courage to take decisions in my business. And it's also enabled me to cope with setbacks that I have, because I don't see them as failures. I just see them as an experiment that potentially could work, or it could go wrong. Third thing that I would say, and this is something that I think is really, really important, is every setback that you have in your business, don't make it mean anything about you, because usually it doesn't. So let's say, for example, that it could be a client who has decided not to work with you. Now, if they've decided not to work with you, that does not mean that you or your business are a failure. It just means that they haven't decided to work with you. And there could be a multitude of reasons for that that have absolutely nothing to do with you. It might mean that it's just a no for now. Or it might mean actually that they are just not the right client for you. And there's something about you and them that just isn't a unique match, isn't the right match. And that's okay. Because ultimately we don't want to be working with clients that are not a good match for us. So it's really, really important to put these things into perspective and not to make them mean anything. And if it helps, write it down. And before you let your thoughts jump on that scary train, and before you let yourself kind of spiral down into this sort of this despairing, and you're kind of overanalyzing and over dramatizing and all that kind of stuff, just sit yourself down, grab a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or whatever, grab a piece of paper and a pen, and ask yourself the question, what could this mean? And it could mean a whole load of other things that honestly have nothing to do with you. And if you find that actually it could be something to do with you or your approach or something in your business, then it's going to enable you to just make these very, very small tweaks that could actually make all the difference in your business, which could mean that perhaps, that client, will work out next time. And it's really, really important to do that. Number 4 would be to take some action. So when you've had a setback in your business, do something about it, and do something positive, no matter how small. There are always things that you can do to either change your thoughts or your situation. So, look at your setback, look at the thing that's happened, and start to think about what small step you can take today that's going to help you change your situation. So, for example, when I had a setback with all my cancelled subscribers, I could have sat there and gone, thrown my hands up into the air and go, oh my God, my business is about to go down the pan. And initially it did cross my mind. But then when I'd worked through this process and when I'd asked myself the questions around, what does this mean and what action can I take to help the situation to move me forward, I sat down and thought, well, do you know what? Okay, what can I do to help and support those people? So I reached out to them and said, okay, I understand your situation. Let's, here you go. You can have 6 months for free, and I will continue sending you opportunities until we get out the other side of COVID. Or those who want to support me, I will not cancel your subscription. I will put you on a priority list to make sure that that you get the opportunities before anybody else. And that just made me feel a whole lot better, because I felt that I was doing something positive and not just sitting back and waiting for things to happen to me. With the Mighty Network setback I had, and having to, and realizing that it was all going wrong and it wasn't working out in the way that I wanted it to, then I just took the decision to just go back to Facebook and just take it on the chin, accept that I'd made a mistake, and just, try and rectify the situation. So action is really important, because action takes you from a space of, worrying, overthinking, into a place of action, and as we all know, it's the action that creates momentum. So I have been talking this afternoon, and I do hope that you found it helpful, about some ways that you can deal with setbacks in your business, because let's face it, we all have them, and if you haven't had any yet, I can guarantee that you are going to have some in the future. So it's an important business skill that we have to learn. So the 4 tips that I wanted to share with you, and I have shared with you this afternoon. Number 1, accept that dealing with setbacks is a part of business life. Number 2, change your attitude around it, and get yourself in the mindset of there are no failures, only experiments. Number 3, don't make it mean anything about you. And number 4, take action to move yourself forward. All right, everybody, I do hope that you found that useful. Didn't really have many people on the live today, and that's okay, because it's it's a beautiful day and I'm sure you're out doing other things. But if you are watching the replay, and I know a lot of people do that a bit later on, then do pop a comment in the box below and just let me know your thoughts on dealing with setbacks in business. I'd love to know. All right, love you and leave you. See you all again next Tuesday for some more Tuesday tips. Take care, everyone. Bye.